Hello. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you all for the early birthday wishes during the starting soon. I appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome to the 30 club. Yep, I am indeed 30 now. feels normal, but also feels weird because I know you guys. I mean, you guys have been calling me Unc already. I think in that sense it probably won't make a difference because I've been called old regardless. So it's probably gonna be fine. I think it's probably gonna be the same as before because you guys already bullied me for being old. So what's the difference really? What is the difference? Anyways, I don't know how long we're gonna be live today. We're just gonna hang out. We're gonna do some Worlds recap because of course I did just get back from the World Championships. Unfortunately not a two-time world champion now, but that's okay. So we'll talk about that a little bit, talk about our experience in Master Duel, and then also talk a little bit about what happened in the TCG, just a little bit of an all like a Worlds recap stream a little bit, and then just hang out a little bit, yeah. In general, I'm still a little tired from the last couple of weeks. Also, of course, the Worlds week was exciting but also stressful. But in general, you know, the last couple of weeks we've been preparing a lot, spent a lot of nights testing for Worlds. So yeah, I'm not tired because I'm old. I'm tired because I played Worlds last weekend. Don't say man is tired old. No, but there's gonna be a couple things that'll change in the next couple of weeks and months with the content. I'll talk about that more later. But yeah, I wanted to go live this week at least once. But we're going to be returning to a regular streaming schedule next week. I bet your knees crack now when you stand up. No, they don't. Oh, sometimes they do. But not often. Not often. Almost never. Mine do that and I'm 24. See, mine did that sometimes too before I was 30. Do you feel the urge to take day naps now? No, not more or less than before. Okay. Does your back hurt, old man? Sometimes. Sometimes it does, yeah. Anyways. All right, y'all. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. Thank you all for the subs, of course, as well. I appreciate that. We're getting those sub numbers back up because they tanked a little bit because I wasn't streaming for a week, but it's fine. Thank you all for the resubs. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about what happened over the course of the last weekend, of course, because there was the World Championship, and I'm also excited to hear how it was for you guys, the World Championship, to like watch it, whether you attended it in person or you watched from home. Like, how was I wasn't able to really check in with the stream and stuff. Like, I was able to see like the opening ceremony from the venue and everything, but like, you know, I'm not sure how it was when you were watching from home, but the show was pretty cool in person. I thought it was a good show. I thought it was exciting to watch in person. So I was wondering how it was for people watching from home. Worst duels I've ever watched. Go first, win. I mean, we will talk about the Master Duel format in a second, but I mean, you guys know how I feel about the current Master Duel format, so I get that. I had a lot of fun watching TCG. Also, I honestly spectated Duel Links, and that also was kind of exciting. The Duel Links finals was pretty hype actually, which was fun to see. The deck variety for TCG was so good. Yeah, TCG format was fun. Besides the fact that like I was a little disappointed there was 0 Draco Tails. Everything else, I mean, everything else was represented, even some rogue decks. And then Top Cut had, I think, like, what was it, 6 different decks? Which is pretty impressive for the World Championship, right? Like the highest level of competition. You would assume people don't bring like that many different things, but like 6 different decks in top 8 is kind of crazy. But I was a little sad about, like, not even one person came to the conclusion that they could make Draco Tail work. That's what yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed your meta beat gameplay. Look, there was a very specific reason why I played Stun as the second deck, and I still stand by that decision, by the way. I think my Stun deck was pretty good for what I wanted it to achieve, but we can talk about that later as well. With why I played that deck. Malice deserved it. I mean, it was quite literally just meant to counter Malice, but yeah. Sad to hear the news about the podcast. Yeah, I know it makes me a little sad too, but it was a decision that I feel like I had to make. I'll talk about that more. I'm planning to post a video about, like, in general the future of the channel and everything. It's not gonna be bad news or anything, like, don't worry about that. But there's a few things that are gonna change for the upcoming season just because of how I feel about Master Duel and TCG right now and where I want to put my focus and what I want to do and all that kind of stuff. Which is something that I'm probably going to record that off stream because it's going to be easier for me to not lose track and focus on the things I want to say. But like, yeah, TLDR, the podcast, I think Farfa posted it on Twitter yesterday. The podcast is going to have, I think, 2 more episodes. And then it is going to be discontinued for now. I don't know if there's ever going to be a like if we've ever going to be reviving it, but for now it's just been a little bit much for me. Basically, is the TLDR with work-life balance, if you want to call it that. I know people make fun of, you know, streamers it's not a real job and everything, but the last season was pretty stressful, and with me doing more TCG now, which includes traveling to regionals on weekends and everything, stuff is gonna have to change basically for the next season, and I'll inform you all about this in the next couple of days once I have like a moment to record it. But it's gonna be fine. I'm not gonna go anywhere. Don't worry about that. Booble, thank you for the 5 gifties, and everyone else, I appreciate the subs. Thank you so much. Oh yeah. 07 final stream. It is not the final stream. We're returning to a regular streaming schedule next week. One thing that is going to change that I can already tell you, that I know for sure, is we're going to be moving some streams to the weekend. Like some of the regular streaming days are going to be Saturday and Sunday. Because I just recently noticed, like, hey, I as a self-employed streamer, I can technically choose when my weekend is, and I think it makes more sense for me to stream on the weekends, because then if I do have to go to like a regional or a big tournament, yes, I'm gonna be skipping streams, but like I'm not gonna be like working basically like 7 days a week, right? Because I stream like 4 or 5 days and then also go to tournaments on the weekends. Yeah, essentially, right? So it's gonna be like I haven't really decided what the other streaming days are gonna be, because it's gonna be more than 2. Don't worry. The regular schedule is still probably gonna be 4 days a week, like how it was right now, or like how it's been since I started, basically, right? But I'm gonna be moving 2 of those to the weekend, right? And I figured it's probably gonna be good for some of you as well if it's on the weekend, because I do think most of you probably have time on the weekend to watch. I mean, I do think some of you also just watch or are able to watch more during the week, but we're gonna have both is the good thing, right? So yeah. But yeah. I'll go more in detail on that sort of stuff. I'll write down some stuff that I want to talk about and then make a like channel update type YouTube video, basically. Yeah. As long as the Schmidt stream stays, it might. It's just that I am thinking about leaving Tuesday and Wednesday out, because those are technically the 2 days I can go to locals. Because there's 2 locals nearby me during the week, which are Tuesday and Wednesday. And I'm thinking like probably keeping one of those days open would be good. On the other hand, like I can go to locals after stream. It's not like the worst thing. Or I can work on streaming locals. Maybe it's all up in this. This is all things I'm trying to work out in the next couple of days, how exactly I'm going to do that. But yeah. Also, someone asked if I was going to like try hard the upcoming Duelist Cup and everything. That is also something I'm going to be talking about. And I do think you guys have noticed this in recent weeks. I've been a little frustrated with Master Duel's format. More than usual, I would say. Which I feel like you guys may have noticed or not. I am going to probably play less Master Duel moving forward, which is probably also partially the reason for this is also the fact that like I just like TCG a lot right now. And so like I just want to spend more time on the thing that I enjoy more, which is TCG, which is something that, you know, I've experienced like different results when I've done TCG content recently. You know, sometimes the numbers are just better when I stream Master Duel. You know what I mean? Like Master Duel is such an easy game to create content for. You just log in, you play, and I have like 2,000 people watching. And whenever I do TCG, it's usually like it's slightly more work. It's more time to set up, and then like I get less viewers as well sometimes. Ultimately, though, I think I have to make the decision to do the thing that makes me happier, rather than the thing that gets me more viewers. Like, I don't want to have everything be dictated by the numbers. And it's like, we're still going to keep in touch with Master Duel. We're still going to, like, you know, if there's a new pack or whatever, we're still going to, you know, we're still going to play. We're still going to see the new card, because ultimately it is Yu-Gi-Oh! And I like Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot. It's just a worse version of Yu-Gi-Oh! These days, I feel like. That this is, once again, this is my... this is how I feel, and if you enjoy Master Duel and you feel differently about it, that's totally fine, by all means. But that's how I've been feeling. That's how I've been feeling. So, yeah. But like, we're still gonna be. I'm still happy to host Challenger Cups, because I still think Challenger Cups are an awesome project by Konami, giving tournaments to the community that are free to play and all that. Like, I'm still completely 100% down to do Challenger Cups, and then whenever there's a new pack and everything, like I'm gonna be checking it out. And if I have time during a Duelist Cup, maybe the competitive itch is gonna get the best of me, and I'll sit down and actually try hard for a Duelist Cup, like, or like the regional qualifier next year, for example, the World's qualifier. If I end up not able to go into TCG, which is what I'm gonna be trying to do, I will probably still try the Master Duel regional qualifier and all that. Like, it's not going to be you know, goodbye to Master Duel forever. That's not what I'm feeling. I just feel like currently not the biggest fan of the Master Duel format, but like I also think like once the current Justice Hunter decks get to Master Duel, I would probably start enjoying it a lot more as well. Like once we move on from Malice format and they make like Draco Tail, Vanquish Soul, and Yummy and stuff like that. Like I'll definitely jump back into Master Duel more in that period of time, right? I think it's a matter of a lot of people, including myself, usually look at Master Duel and TCG as two competing games and are like, oh, one is killing the other, or one is hurting the other, or you have to decide between the two. The way I want to do it moving forward is more like I just want to use it as an opportunity to just have two options, basically, right? Like I want to play the one that I think is better and more fun at the moment, because they're both Yu-Gi-Oh with slightly different, rules. So if at any point I just enjoy the TCG so much more than Master Duel, that's a good thing because I can play the TCG. And if at some point, like I think TCG is not in a good spot, I can play Master Duel, right? And so I think it's not just a negative, right? It's good to have two options on what to play and what to create content for. I think that can help. But yeah. Anyways. Happy birthday, Josh. You are now more close to becoming a paleo card. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Anyways, now I've talked about it way more now than I was originally going to, because I want to these thoughts that I'm sharing right now is something I want to share in a YouTube video, and I want to make it more like structured than just talking about this and that. So we'll talk more about that. The video, I'll probably record the video like tomorrow and post it on Friday or something like that, and then it's going to be pretty clear. But the TLDR is just going to be more focus on TCG because that's what I'm enjoying right now. I am going to do the World's Grind, and doing the World's Grind is in the TCG is something I'm very excited for, but it's also something that I know from previous years where I have done it is stressful, and so that is going to be somewhat reflected in the schedule, right? Because if I go and play regionals almost every week, I'm gonna have to take some time off from like the work part, basically. Like I have to work less if I travel to regionals like once or twice a week or something. That's just gonna be like a natural thing that I have to do. When was the last time you did the TCG Worlds Grind? The last time I was in the playoffs for Worlds in 2023, but I didn't really grind hard for it because we were qualified for Master Duel Worlds in that year. I basically, the way it worked in 2023 was because of COVID, there was no playoff in 2020, 2021, and 2022. So in 2023, they did a bigger playoff with the people from both like with the people from the seasons from 2019 and 20. So I was in the playoffs in 2023, not because I grinded in 2023, but because I had points from 2019 to 2020. So that's basically that. So the last time I've actually grinded regionals is like 5 years ago at this point. It's been a while. And that mostly, of course, because Master Duel gave me that alternative, right? Like Master Duel came out, and Master Duel was also the game that got me into streaming, right? Like I didn't start streaming TCG. I started streaming when Master Duel came out. And so naturally, I put a lot of emphasis on Master Duel in my first couple of years. Qualified for the first Master Duel World Championship, then we won it, and then we also were qualified for the next Master Duel World Championship, and so on and so forth. And so there's just been a lot more focus on Master Duel in these last couple of years. but it's I'm just reaching a point where whenever I go to TCG events, I just have I have a lot of fun playing TCG events, and while I have a lot of fun streaming Master Duel, which is why also we're not going to stop streaming Master. Streaming Master Duel is always fun to me until I get max seed, but which is like 5 minutes. But for the most part, like the just casually playing Master Duel on stream is fun. Whenever I try hard in Master Duel these days, I just don't enjoy it as much because there's just things in the format that I feel like shouldn't be in the format, which goes beyond just max seed. There's other things, yeah. But I understand that there's basically at this point like there's a lot of people who play both Master Duel and TCG who are interested in both, but then there's also of course groups that only play Master Duel or only play TCG because they just think it's better. And I think like there probably is a balance. Like we don't have to completely lose all touch with Master Duel just to play TCG, but we'll probably like still have Master Duel days on the stream. Like it's gonna be fine. But yeah. So I'm gonna be experimenting with ways to make TCG content. You know, I've looked into ways to record my locals. I'm also gonna see if it's possible to record regionals, like with like a GoPro or something. I don't actually know if that is allowed according to like tournament policies. Maybe if I talk to the organizer, it'd be able to do that. The only thing that I don't like is like I don't like recording games and then just posting them with no commentary or whatever, right? I think that'd be not the best way to do it. What I was thinking about doing is recording games and then talking over them on stream to actually discuss my plays. I feel like that would actually help people improve. I think just watching a game with no commentary, no explanation, whatever, I think is not that good. But I think if I go out of my way to record my games at locals or at regionals, and then we watch that stuff on stream together, and then we talk through the plays, like I have the option to like pause and all that. In my head, that's like an awesome thing to do on stream as well. Like I think that way, if I go to a regional, that would also help me fill the time on stream with TCG content. I genuinely think that'd be good TCG content, right? So that's something I want to do. So I'm currently looking into ways on what the best thing is to record, because like the obvious thing is like using a GoPro, but I'm not sure how good that footage is. Like if it's like also I don't know how I feel running around with a GoPro on my head. I don't know if that's like maybe weird for me. I don't know, but I looked into some, like there's like camera glasses as well, but I haven't really found a solution for that yet. Like for example, I think I found one, but it only like the meta glasses. Yeah, but the meta glasses, apparently you can only record for 30 seconds at a time, which is like giga whack. Like why'd they make it like that? Why is that how it works? But yeah. Nivska did the GoPro vlog at a regional in Frankfurt. Yeah, I think it'd be possible. I think if I talk to the organizers of the regional beforehand and they're okay with it, and then I of course ask each of my opponents like, are you okay if I record our match? And they say yes, then I should be fine. But I just have to clarify that. I have to clarify that. But yeah. Are you willing to duel some of your viewers? I mean, yeah, we've done remote duel streams in the past, and those were fun. The one thing I didn't think was optimal about remote duel streams is the fact that like it's hard for me to interact with chat while I am talking to my opponent, right? And I think that's a big part of streaming. To me, a big part of streaming is being able to talk to my chat, being able to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing and all that kind of stuff, right? And I think that's something that's harder to do when you're remote dueling. So I think that's one thing that's kept me from doing it like more often. But yeah. Anyways, dude, okay. Someone gifted a sub to Josh_old. I appreciate that, I think. Happy birthday, Unk type shit. Oh, what's up, Enzo? Thank you. All right. Let's talk about Worlds, shall we? All right. Master Duel Worlds. Why don't we talk about our preparation before we talk about the actual results of the tournament? Let me open Master Duel. So, I was, of course, super happy to be part of Worlds this year, because for those of you that didn't know, I was not the one who did the qualifying this year. You know, I did not actually do super well in the regional qualifier at the end of the season. I was not the one who got us the spot at the World Championship. That was Quantal this time around. So Quantal was the captain. And honestly, the way I felt about that, it was like, it was the first time not qualifying with like by myself. I was just happy to be part of it, to be honest, this year, because I like, it was not something I had quote unquote done myself, but I was invited by Quantal, and yeah, and of course we still wanted to try our best after winning in 23 and getting second in 24. Of course, everyone was going in on that narrative of, you know, Snipe Hunters versus Team 7, back to back finals and everything. So even though, you know, we had achieved a lot in the last 2 years already, we still felt like there was a decent amount of pressure on us to do well again. But, you know, at the same time, you shouldn't force yourself to perform every single time, because every once in a while it's okay if it's not your day. But anyways, the format for this year's Master Duel World Championship was, of course, the same as it usually is at Master Duel Worlds, which is 3v3. Every player needs to bring 2 decks, and there is a shared card pool, meaning that you basically all are building your decks with the same collection of cards. So like if I play 3 copies of Effect Veiler in my deck, it cannot be in any other deck. If I play 2 copies of Effect Veiler, there's 1 other Veiler we can put in another deck, but we only have 3 total of each card, or less if the card is on the ban list. Like, for example, Called by the Grave, you only have 2 copies total for all of your decks. The only exception is that there's a rule that you can designate 3 shared cards that are excluded from this, right? Like, essentially, what this means in Master Duel is that at least so far in every single World Championship, every team has shared Maxi and Ash Blossom so that they can be in every deck. And the third card is basically like something, whatever, right? This year we chose Called by the Grave, which was the most popular choice, I think, out of the 12 teams. Out of the 12 teams that played Worlds this year, I think 10 of them shared Called by, and 2 of them shared Mulcharmy Fuvalos. I'm gonna be honest with you, I think Called by the Grave is not even that good of a shared card right now in Master Duel, because obviously, like, the obvious reason why you play Called by the Grave is because Maxi is in the game and you want to counter Maxi. The problem with Called by the Grave in the current Master Duel format is it's pretty bad when you go second, because decks like Ryziel, decks like Malice, Called by has no value against those decks. Whereas, like, if you think of previous formats, like, for example, last year's format, even if you go second, Called by was still a really powerful card against something like Promethean Princess or like a Flamberge on your turn or something like that. Like, it was a better card going second. Right now, it's more like Called by going second, it does nothing against their engine. Like, yes, you can hit the Maxi in their hand, but I think it's fine. the reason why I still think Called By was the correct choice is because there's just no other card that's better. Like if you think about Fuva, I think Fuva, yugioh says he liked Fuva because I think they played Fuva as the shared card. I think it was Team Fala Galera and Team 7 who played Fuva as their shared card. I think Fuva has other issues though, because in my opinion, Called By is bad going second, Fuva is bad going first. But then at the same time, I also just felt like Fuva wasn't consistently winning me games when I was going second against good players. Like if you Fuva, like whenever I Fuva'd Quantal in testing, for example, he did not care. Like Malice does not care about Fuva. The half boards that Malice makes under Fuva are still broken. Ryziel makes pretty good half boards under Fuva. Memento makes pretty good half boards under Fuva. So like I just wasn't really happy with Fuva's performance because I felt like the decks were too powerful into it still. So I wasn't happy sharing a card that's like not great going, like dead going first and not good enough going second either. Is how I felt about Fuva. Of course, you can argue like, okay, but having a Fuva going second is better than not having anything, which is true for going second specifically, but I still didn't think like it gave me enough of a chance. Anyways, so that's the shared cards. In terms of decks, every team had Malice and Ryziel, and we knew that every team was gonna have Malice and Ryziel. So we also had Malice and Ryziel. So this was Quantal's Malice deck, which is pretty cookie cutter. I think it's like it's a Malice list. Honestly, you could run into this on ladder. You don't even really realize that this is a shared card pool environment deck list. And this was very important to us, that the Malice deck was quote unquote full power. We did not want to make any concessions with the Malice deck, because if another thing about how the Master Duel World Championship system works is that the team captain is the most important player in the team for a couple of reasons. And one of those reasons is that the main reason is that at the end of the Swiss rounds or at the end of the group stage, basically it's 12 teams, 6 teams per group, and then you play 5 rounds because everyone plays against everyone inside their group, and then the first 2 advance. And the thing is, there are tiebreakers in case teams end up with the same score, of course, because in 5 rounds, there's a very high chance that there's going to be like 4-1, you are basically guaranteed to advance into the top 4. But like it was way more likely that multiple teams end up on 3-2. This is what happened to us last year. We advanced on a 3-2 record. This year as well, I believe in our group, there was like multiple teams at 3-2 that had to duke it out because of tiebreakers. And one of the tiebreakers in that decision is which team leader has more wins, right? So essentially, if we have the same score as another team at the end of the group stage, we and another team is also 3-2, and we have the same number of wins in general, then the tiebreaker is if Quantal wins more games or if their captain wins more games. And this is actually, this was the deciding factor in our group between whether Chiba Joey, Pack, and Enzo would advance, or whether it would be Noble Gabigol, which was Shoma Yusa's team. They were both 3-2. They both had the exact same number of wins in total, which I think was 23 wins. So the deciding factor, the tiebreaker, was literally just the team captain wins, which Joey had more wins than Shoma Yusa. So they advanced to the top 4, right? And so TLDR, that's the reason why the team captain is the most important player in the team, because they are part of the tiebreakers when it comes to the same score. Which is why we wanted Quantal's Malice deck to be as good as possible. This is why he got the imperms. Like there was times where I had imperms in one of my where I had one imperm in one of my decks just as like a cross out target, but then I realized I didn't really need it, and it went back to Quantal. And so like Quantal, I think, had the like basically full power Malice, because we didn't want to make any concessions in that regard. And then the thing is, like, Malice is by far the best deck in the format right now. It's by far the strongest deck in Master Duel at the moment. And so the question is, what do you pair with a Malice deck that is so strong? Like, when do you not want to play this deck? And there is not a lot of circumstances where you shouldn't play Mermail, where you shouldn't play Malice in this format, because it is so powerful. And so, like, just for reference, we're gonna look at the stats later, but Malice, here, like, to give you a quick glimpse at it, Malice had an 80% win rate when it went first. Is how strong it was in this form. 80%, which is absurd at this level. All right, there's people that have looked at the stats and calculated all the stats and everything, and Malice came out at 80% when it won the coin flip. Yeah, so there's not much reason at the moment to switch off of Malice in Master Duel. The only thing that we could think of was like, if someone has a crazy anti-Malice deck, right? Like, if someone has a crazy anti-Malice deck, then maybe we want to switch off of it, which probably included something like Lancea and Chaos Hunter and maybe Moltrami Meows and all that kind of stuff, right? And so, and I think that's what most teams did too, is they just gave the Malice player a second deck that was just solid and good, that didn't care about Lancea, right? Which is why we gave Quantal a second deck that he was also very familiar with, which was Mermail. I don't know if this list is exactly what he used. I think so. But it's just, we gave the Malice player a secondary deck that was good into Lancea, right? And this is the Mermail list that Quantal played. This deck did very well for him. I think he went like 5-1 with Mermail or something like that. He queued it a couple of times if we expected some Lanceas or some Chaos Hunters and all that kind of stuff, and overall did pretty well with it. The thing with Mermail is, like, Mermail is a very coin flippy deck in Master Duel right now. It's obviously super strong when it goes first, but also relatively weak when it goes second, especially when you throw a lot of non-engine into other decks. Because of the shared card pool. But this list was pretty good. 3-1. Okay, my bad. 3-1 maybe. Let me check. Yeah, but Mermail overall was overall also pretty good at Worlds. It had like a slightly over 50% win rate. It was a solid choice, right? So this was Quantal's secondary deck, the Mermail deck, right? But this is an approach that I think you have to understand. Like, almost every team did this. Almost every team did Malice plus a counter against anti-Malice. This is what a lot of teams did. And then, of course, we have the Ryziel deck. I think the Ryziel deck for us was a little bit different than what other people had. Essentially, the way we wanted to approach the Ryziel deck was we wanted it to be good against Malice, because we expected, like, Malice to be on every single lineup. And essentially, with Ryziel, I thought you could take it two ways. You could take it two ways. You could either play just a standard quote-unquote Ryziel deck with just regular good non-engine, or you can play one that is more targeted at Malice, which is what we chose to do. So essentially, the idea was to give Emre a lineup that was really good into Malice and Ryziel. Because Emre's lineup had a Ryziel deck that was performing pretty well into Malice, because it had Meows, 2 Lanceas, not just one for 7th Tachyon, but we actually gave him a second one, and we also gave him Bells to counter some of their starters or extenders, alongside Valor. So this list was performing pretty well into Malice. And but it wasn't ideal in the Ryziel mirror match, right? It's not like complete ass in the mirror. You can still easily win when you go first. But Emre spent the entire day bricking Ryzeal. I think he may have summoned like one detonator the entire tournament, which was rough. But the idea is basically queue this into Malice, queue this into Memento, because this non-engine lineup is actually quite strong against Memento too. Bell is very good against Memento. Meowls is fine against Memento. They have to combo a little bit worse if you Meowls them. And Lancia is also a Lancia is a pretty good. It's decent against Memento actually. Like it's annoying to play under Lancia because you can't do you cannot do the fusion graveyard effect to search. Also, it's a lot harder to play around Nibiru under Lancia because you can't protect with SP. You have to get to Appaloosa. So the only thing we had to cover for this Ryzeal deck was we had to have another deck to queue into other Ryzeal players because this is not ideal into Ryzeal. And so we gave Emre a Tenpai deck, Striker Tenpai basically, that was meant to just purely to counter Ryzeal. The one thing that we didn't expect so many people to do was to protect their Ryzeal deck with an FTK deck, because this is something that we ran into a couple of times. Is people played Ryzeal and then they paired it with Gimmick Puppet to counter Tenpai, which was something that we didn't anticipate there to be so many Gimmick Puppets, because what we thought, or Arcana Force, which is what Team 7 did to counter Tenpai. What we thought, basically, it was layers, where we thought what people would do to counter Striker Tenpai was they would just go for the Baguska end board, right? You guys remember that combo from the TCG? I think I've showed it in Master Duel as well. The one where you go, your end board, if you don't get hand trapped, is Baguska Duo Drive with 2 materials and Star Leash, so that like you cannot get, nothing can be targeted, nothing can be destroyed. So basically the only out to it is like Book of Eclipse or Droplet. I felt like that was maybe what people would do with Ryzeal to counter Striker Tenpai, which is something that I found a solution for that in Striker Tenpai, which was the Shizuku. So the reason why the Starleash Photon protects everything from being targeted is because everything is 2000 or more attack. And so I thought about it, maybe if we could find a solution to this problem, then Striker Tenpai would be a good counter to Ryzeal. And I found Shizuku, because what you do is you just, as long as you have access to Engage or Hornet Drones, you can make Kagari, and then you're going to have a bunch of spells in your grave. So you just make a Shizuku, and that makes everything smaller. And so the stuff actually becomes targetable. So you can actually out their stuff with like a Widow Anchor or an Ultimate Slayer. So that was why I felt like this deck was a good counter to Ryzeal. What I didn't expect people to do is like protect their Ryzeal decks with Gimmick Puppet all the time. So we did run this deck into Gimmick Puppet twice, unfortunately. One time our opponent messed up the FTK because they misclicked, so we still won that game. But in the other one, we just got Gimmick Puppet FTK'd. The reality is, like, we probably should have, after like round 3 or 4, we probably should have stopped queuing the Tenpai deck if we had no info on our opponent's second deck. Which was when we got Gimmick Puppeted, like in round 5, for example. Which is something where we probably should have queued the Ryzeal deck into the other Ryzeal player, but we didn't know what the second deck was. Because they hadn't... Basically, it's like, you have to understand, like, for 4 rounds straight, they had only played Ryzeal. Every single round. Ryzeal. And then we didn't know what the second deck was, so we just assumed they would be playing Ryzeal the entire day because they didn't really have a good secondary deck. And then it ended up being Gimmick Puppet. But yeah. Which is good though. I think in general, like the fact that the deck lists were hidden this year made it a lot more interesting in terms of like what decks to queue, and you were actually able to make good meta calls in this format, which I think was pretty cool. But yeah. And then for my lineup, I was left with I think the next best deck in Master Duel at the moment that isn't Ryziel or Malice, which I think is Memento. I was pretty happy with Memento when I was testing it. I think it's like a good deck. It's not better than Ryziel or Malice, but it has a decent win rate against Ryziel, and it's obviously pretty strong when it gets to go first. And I also the hardest matchup for me when I was testing this deck usually was Striker Tenpai. I think Striker Tenpai was tough, but I found a solution to that, which was playing the Fucho, because it's very easy in this deck to make a rank 1. And I thought it was cool to see that I was not the only one to do this. I think Pac told me he also did this. He also played one Fucho to counter Tenpai, so we didn't talk about that at all. I didn't talk to Pac about his list before the tournament, but he reached a very similar conclusion. I think his extra deck was like 2 cards different. And I made it once. I made it once in round 1 actually against Tasku's team, because they had a player who was Mermail and Tenpai, and I went first against them. I didn't know if it was Tenpai. But I basically, instead of making the standard end board with Appaloosa, I made SP, Fucho, and Combined Creation, which was still good enough to beat the Mermail, but unfortunately it was not Tenpai. Yeah, I'm not playing Trihorned compared to the other lists, which honestly, I still stand by that. I don't think Trihorned is necessary in my personal experience with this deck. I've been playing this deck for a long time now. I see how Trihorn Dragon increases your ceiling and makes your interruption stronger. I don't think it necessary for the most part. I lost one game with this deck that I should have won, which was round 1, where I went first. I comboed against Malice. My hand was awkward, so my end board was not the full end board. It was not Appo. It was the SP Combined Creation end board, and they ended up breaking it because their hand was crazy. But they also ended up breaking it because I didn't play it perfectly, is the way I feel about that. Like, the reason I lost round 1, game 1 was because I left my Akihiron in the graveyard in their turn. So when they actually, like, they couldn't kill me, which they never can. But if they couldn't kill me, so what they ended up doing was they ended up Whitebinder banishing my Akihiron, which I have no way to get it back. And then they banished my my Combined Creation too, so on my next turn. So I had no way to actually play the grind game with them. If I had just shuffled the Akihiron back into the deck with Memento Fusion, I would have still won round 1 even without the Trihorn Dragon. I personally don't think Trihorn Dragon is necessary. I do think most other teams in the tournament played Trihorn Dragon. And I honestly think if someone like Pac reached the conclusion that Trihorn Dragon is necessary, then there is a chance I'm wrong, because I think Pac is a better Memento player than I am. But for how I was playing this deck, how I've been performing combos with this deck, and how I've been interrupting with this deck, I've never really missed Trihorn Dragon. I think the only other controversial thing in this deck is that I only played 2 Memento Fusions. This was a last minute decision because I played this deck a lot, and I was deciding between playing 2 Fusion, 3 Breakout, or 2 Breakout, 3 Fusion. I was basically going back and forth between that because I didn't have room for all 6. And the reason why I ended up cutting a Memento Fusion last minute is because I noticed that a lot of the times I would only draw 1 Memento monster, and then it would get hand trapped, and then I can't extend with Memento Fusion. That's what I was mostly scared of. It was like, there was so many hands where I go like, normal summon, Dark Blade, activate effect, they go imperm, and I have a Memento Fusion in hand, and like, other non-engine, and I just cannot, like, I can't push through that 1 imperm, or through that 1 Ash Blossom, right? And that's when I decided, okay, Goblin, I know Breakout is the worst extender. Like, Memento Fusion is the better extender to activate when you get interrupted. Like, if you have a Memento Fusion and you can activate it, you are basically impossible to stop in this deck, right? Because it is so many pushes at once. I understand that, but Goblin Biker Grand Breakout in general is the more reliable extender, right? Is the more reliable the more reliable extender and starter. You know, I've had hands. Look, Goblin Biker Grand Breakout was my most reliable starter at Wells. Like, I didn't draw any normal summons. After round 3, I don't think I've opened a starter in Memento anymore. Like, in the entirety of round 4 and 5, I didn't open a Memento starter. My idea, there was like one attempt at comboing, and that was summon Fuva Tribute for Breakout. But yeah. I opened, okay, the game against Lab, I technically had a playable hand. But like, I know you can't see this in the you can't see this in no, I did, the 1-for-1 did not get judgmented. The game in round, I don't know if it's round 5. The first game, my hand is 1-for-1 Gatic, Talons, and double Breakout, which is combo. 1-for-1 discard Gatic is combo. But also, by the way, I drew Gatic. I think I played this game. I played this deck 12 games. I drew 6 or 7 Gatics. It was actually cursed. It was completely disgusting. I went 1-for-1 just for you. I don't know if you guys understood how frustrating that game was, just watching it from the outside, not seeing the cards in my hand. But the way that game went was my opening hand: 1-for-1 Talents, Gatic, Breakout, Breakout. Okay, I go 1-for-1 pitch Gatic. I get ashed. I activate Talents to draw 2. And I draw Goblin and Fuva. And so, which means I have 3 starters in my hand. But none of them work because Gatic's in the graveyard. Goblin is the only Memento starter that is not combo if Gatic's in the graveyard. And then I have 2 Breakouts. So I have a starter and 2 extenders, but I can't play because Gatic's in my grave. So that was the first game I went first in round 5. The second game I went first in round 5. I opened Fuva, I opened Fuva Crossout, Party, Fusion. Which once again is a perfect hand if I have a Breakout. Those were the hands I was scared of. That's why I cut a Fusion for another Breakout, because I was afraid of like not drawing a Memento monster with my Fusion. Or my Bone Party. That's why I wanted to max on Breakout. And then I still drew Fuva Crossout, Party, Fusion. Right? If the Fusion is a Breakout, that hand plays through basically everything. But it wasn't. So I don't know. It was a rough tournament for me. And that's why I don't feel too bad about it, because I think my second deck, by the way, we'll talk about in a second. It's going to be a fun talk. I'm going to have to defend myself there. But yeah, I don't know. The extra deck, I played this one over Dragostapelia because it came up a decent amount for me in testing. I liked it a lot more than Dragostapelia. They're both fine. Yeah, they're both good. And then I played a third Creation King because I sometimes struggled with recycling it. If like usually you go through both on the first turn, and then if like there's been instances in testing where one is banished because you banish it to search the field spell, and then the other one is in the graveyard because you plan to bring it back with the combined creation. But then there's like instances where your opponent just called by the graves it. Right, and then it's banned. Like both are banished, and it's kind of like a pain in the ass to get it back. And so I decided to play a third one for those, which I summoned I think twice at Worlds. I summoned the third king twice, which is fine. But yeah, and then my second deck. Look with this. Wait, where's my? No, this is not it. With this deck. In the current Master Duel format, you basically, like, this deck is fine into Ryzeal, this deck is fine into all rogue decks, this deck sucks into Malice. This deck sucks into Malice because it... going first, Malice is the hardest deck to beat with this deck because Malice has the best hand traps into Memento with Dominus Impulse. Dominus Impulse and Ash Blossom are super good hand traps against Memento, and especially Dominus Impulse is really good against it. And going second, like I said earlier, my main non-engine is Fuva and Max C, of course. And honestly, this deck is not very good at beating Malice half-boards with... Memento is not good at beating Malice half-boards because Malice half-boards have non-target banishes, which are the hardest thing to play through with Memento because it's just hard to dodge a non-target banish. Like if you chain Breakout to a non-target banish, you still get banished. If you chain Fusion to a non-target banish, your Fusion monster still gets banished. And if you chain Bone Party to a non-target banish, you have to add it to hand, otherwise it also gets banished. So like it's really, really difficult to push through 1 or 2 non-target banishes, and you are most likely not able to kill Malice because you have to play weird lines, and then they just always cook you on the follow. And like White Binder is such a hard card to play around as well. So like, yeah, it's just too hard to beat Malice with this deck going second, which I think is why most, and this once again, this is not exclusive to us, most Memento players in the tournament had an anti-Malice deck as their second deck. This goes for Nesh had an anti-Malice deck with Memento. Pack had an anti-Malice deck with Memento. I think other teams did too. Yeah. In total, there were 3 Memento players with Mjolnir FTK at Worlds in Memento. Was it ever a consideration for you? No, not at all. I don't think that's good. I don't think this deck needs an auto win when it goes first. I think if this deck goes first and plays the game, it's completely fine. No need to lock your opponent out. I guess the only thing that you could consider with the Mjolnir thingy is like maybe if you get max seed and you have no out, you can just pull like what basically what Pack did in the finals, but like you probably need a lock to win after you push through. But in general, I don't think it was necessary for the most part. Also the Royals, I didn't wail much for the Royals. What I did was I basically dismantled my entire collection. You guys, I cannot play rogue decks anymore. I had a little moment before deck submission where I wanted to bling my deck out. I don't know why. I just thought they looked nice. I opened some Memento packs and it was like I pulled 1 Darkblade, 1 Bone Party, and like 1 Fusion or something, and I was like, damn, now I gotta like complete these play sets or something. And I didn't want to spend the money for it, so I just I killed almost everything. My collection is like freaking dead. My collection is freaking dead. Like, do you see how big this bar is on the right? Like when I'm scrolling through the ultra rares I can dismantle, it's a relatively big bar. Like if someone go back to a stream before Worlds and see how small this bar probably was half the size. With the scroll bar, because it's relative to the size of your collection. But anyways. It's fine. It's fine. To be fair, most of the things I got rid of were things I never really played with anyways. Because there's a lot of decks from like that I've played like months or years ago for the last time and so on and so forth. So it's okay. It's alright. Anyways, second deck time. I had a very fun second deck. Like I said, with this deck, the only goal of this second deck, okay? The only goal of this second deck was be good into Malice. And the thing is, I think there is a limit to how good you can be into Malice, because Malice is by far the strongest deck in Master Duel right now. So honestly, I was happy with anything that gave me a slightly more than 50% chance against Malice. That's what I wanted. That's what I went into. Like that was my task basically. After I had decided this was going to be my first deck, I went on a journey to find a deck that has a slightly better win rate than 50%, right? And so I tested a lot of things. I tested those things that other teams had as well. I played Crystron with some anti-Malice cards like Chaos Hunter. I played Snake Eyes with those cards. I played all kinds of decks with those cards in it. And with every one of those decks, I reached a conclusion like, this is not consistently beating Malice. Even when I go first, I just get hand trapped because Malice has such good non-engine. Like you go first with Snake Eyes, you go first with Crystron. Like they have such strong non-engine in their Malice decks that it's not. I don't think it's consistent. I don't think it's consistent. And like going second, like, you know, if you don't draw Lancia or Chaos Hunter, you are also not really winning. So I wanted a deck that basically my goal was to win every time I go first against Malice. And then going second, I was okay if my chance was small, right? And so I ended up playing this. Which I think does exactly that. This deck beats Malice in testing. Like it has 90% or something against Malice when it goes first. The one game in the tournament against Luca where I went first with this deck, I still won, even though it was one of my weakest hands I had drawn with this deck in all of my testing. But basically, the idea is you just activate a freaking floodgate, and then you summon an Ecclesia, and you punch them to death, and like that's it. And this is what Malice. Like Malice has me down bad like that. I just honestly, Malice was so good in this format that I was like, you know what? Let me just flip a freaking coin against Malice. And if I flip heads, I beat Malice. If I flip tails, I lose to Malice. That's basically what this deck does. The only difference is like I think you have a higher win rate going second against Malice than Malice has a going second win rate against you, because you have Maxi in your deck, and because I play Super Poly and Chaos Hunter, they cannot actually push through Maxi. So if I resolve a Maxi, I'm fine. If I have Lancia in my hand, I'm fine. And if I have Chaos Hunter, there's a small chance I can win. Chaos Hunter is not reliable. Chaos Hunter loses to a Dormouse, basically. If they have one Dormouse, Chaos Hunter loses. Chaos Hunter beats Malice if you draw Phantasme first, which is why this is in here. Because if you draw Phantasme, you can negate the Cerberus, and then you can win. I only had one Lancia, unfortunately, because we had two in Emre's deck, because Emre's deck needed to be good into Malice. That's why and Emre was going to play Ryziel way more than I was going to play this deck. My plan with this deck was to just catch one or two Malice players off guard with it. That's all I wanted. I don't think I was basically what you'll notice is like I didn't play this deck in round one because I didn't know who the Malice player was when I queued into him, because it was my first opponent. My very first opponent was Malice, so I didn't queue this because I didn't know they were playing Malice. In the second round, I didn't queue this because I didn't play against Joey, who was the Malice player, because we got swept beforehand. I played it against Luca, and I won with it against Luca in round 3. In round 4, I played it against the Malice player in Shoma Yusa's team, and I lost because I went second, and they had an out to... The thing is, though, I had Maxi Chaos Hunter. It just happened that they drew a hand that beats Chaos Hunter plus an out to Maxi, which was rough. And then in round 5, I stopped queuing it. I think you misplayed that. No, I didn't. It's not... Waiting for Maxi after the allure is crazy with Chaos Hunter in hand. I know what you're going to say. You're going to use hindsight and tell me I should have held the Maxi because Chaos Hunter counters Called by the Grave. But letting allure resolve when there's 3 ashes in the deck versus just 2 Called by is crazy. Is the same math as Sekka's Light? The same math as Sekka's Light? Yeah, but you chain Maxi to Sekka's Light, right? I think you do. But I've never actually ran the numbers on it. They can call down the same chain. I know that. Trust me, I know that. Thank you. Anyways. There's one fun story about this deck. I submitted this deck, and then I realized I had Alt Art Ecclesias. So I told Quantal, hey, can you unlock the deck thingy again? I want to play Alt Art Ecclesias. So I put Alt Art Ecclesias into this deck. And then I resubmitted it. And then one day before Worlds one day before the deck submission closed, I realized that the Ecclesia alt art is not actually Dogmatica Ecclesia, dude. I submitted this deck with alt art Sword Soul Ecclesia, and I noticed it 1 day before submission closed. Which was scary, dude. It was very scary. I almost played this deck. You know what? You know what's funny? It probably would not have changed much about the win rate of the deck when it goes first. Oh man. But yeah. Anyways, like there's not much to this deck. I think this deck was a good Malice counter because it beats it every time it goes first, and going second you have a small chance. Which honestly, that is the same with most decks. I think that is the same with the Snake Eye deck that people played. I think that's the same with the Crystron deck that people played. Whenever Malice goes first, it has a disgusting win rate, as shown in the friggin' like here, you know. Malice going first, 80%. 80% when it wins the coin is the Malice win rate. So I wasn't trying to play a combo deck that can, like, I think combo decks also lose to Malice when they go second, but I think combo decks have a higher chance to lose against Malice when your combo deck goes first. There's always a chance to lose to Maxi, Ash Impulse, those kind of stuff, right? And so that's why I didn't want to play a combo deck against Malice. I didn't want to lose going second and then sometimes lose going first. I think that was not ideal. And yeah, there's some decks down here with a higher win rate going first, but you have to realize this is a super small sample size. This is like 2 games. This is two Blue Eyes games. This is 1 Labyrinth game, 1 Sprite game, 1 Ritual Beast game, 1 Arcana Force game, and 1 Stun game going first. That one. Like, yeah, my Stun deck had a 100% win rate going first. Congratulations. But it was also only 1 game, so it doesn't mean anything. But Malice, 56 games going first, 80% win rate is insane. So there was literally no point in trying to find a deck that beats Malice going second consistently. So I was happy with go first, win, go second, maybe have a small chance with Maxi, Chaos Hunter, Lancia, Phantasme, Super Poly. Right? That was my plan with this deck. And I mean, I played it twice. I won going first. I lost going second. That's all. That's all. There's nothing crazy to it, you know? And even though I hate stun, like if that's what it takes to beat Malice and at the World Championship, like I'm gonna try and I'm playing it. I don't care. If I think it's a good meta call, I'll play it. But yeah. So that was our lineup. And yeah. The unfortunate thing is I essentially could have left the building after round 3, because after round 3 I didn't win a single game anymore. I got 3-0'd in round 4 and I got 3-0'd in round 5. I haven't played essentially a single game of Yu-Gi-Oh after round 3. I lost all 3 coin tosses in round 4 and just got destroyed every time. In round 5 I went first twice, couldn't play the game twice. And then in round 5, I went second against Labyrinth, got judgmented on Breakout, and then couldn't play the game again. So, I don't know. Not much to say about that. Which I think is fine, because honestly, looking back at it, I think our preparation was fine. I don't think our decks were perfect. You probably... I saw now in hindsight that some other teams had some pretty good ideas too. I don't think that makes our ideas bad. I think our ideas were also I think our lineup makes sense. I think Malice with an anti-Malice Malice paired with an anti-Malice counter was fine. I think Emre's lineup was fine, and I think my lineup also made sense. You know, Memento with an anti-Malice deck I think is good. I think that's what a lot of other teams did too. So I think the lineup was good. I think the preparation was fine. I think each of us had one game that they should have won. I should have won the first game against Malice. Quantal should have won a game against Luca, and I think Emre messed up a 10 pi OTK once because I don't know what he was thinking. I think he used his board breakers incorrectly and then didn't win the game because of it. So like each of us had one game that we should have won. But that happens, you know. Like we've made mistakes in previous World Championships. because that's normal at this level of pressure. But you always, I feel like this time we were just missing a little bit of luck. I think I'm not a big fan of the format right now, and I felt like it was a pretty high rolly world championship this time around, so I'm not too mad about it. Like, you were always going to need some luck to win. We didn't have it this time around, but we had it the last 2 years. You know, the last 2 years we had good luck. We have nothing to complain about in the last 2 years, so it's okay. All right, so let's look at the overall results of the tournament. I've already touched upon it a little bit, but these were the decks that people played. By far the most played decks, of course, Malice and Ryziel. Both decks with a pretty disgusting win rate when they win the coin toss. Malice 80% when it goes first, 71% for Ryziel. So both of these decks, if they flipped heads, they most of the time won. The main reason why the Ryziel deck doesn't have more is probably because it was mostly carried by Emre and Ryan just bricking whenever they went first. Like, I think Emre told me, like, I didn't look at all of Emre's games because I was sitting on the left and Emre was sitting on the far right, so I couldn't see his screen. But like, I remember at least three times or so, Emre said, like, I won the coin toss, and then like 5 seconds again, he said, like, 5 seconds later, he said, I bricked. Like, that happened like 3 or 4 times, I feel like. And then he also passed like to one hand trap, like to one Ash Blossom, like 1 or 2 times. But overall, Malice and Ryziel going first, absurd win rates in such a large sample size too. At the highest level, such a large sample size, 80% win rate, 71% win rate when going first is crazy. I bricked the one game I went first with Mermail. I won anyway. Yeah, but like, your opponent also didn't draw very well, so that kind of it's just arbitrary at this point with the games that weren't won or were won with the coin toss involved, where I feel like it was kind of arbitrary. Like, Mermail also 70% win rate when going first, which was also very, very high. Yeah. Of course, Gimmick Puppet is going to have 83% when it goes first, because this also happened like mostly against Tenpai, I think. But yeah. I think it's very very fitting as well that Gimmick Puppet literally had a 0% win rate when it lost the coin. Like 100%, like it's just freaking, what's it called? It's an absolute coin flip deck, and I thought it was very fitting actually to see that. Fitting and sad in some ways, because Tasku played Gimmick Puppet in this tournament, and I honestly, I think that's kind of weird because Tasku is regarded to as one of the very best Master Duel players in the entire world, and I feel like if Tasku reaches the conclusion that you just friggin' that he's supposed to play Gimmick Puppet, which is an absolute coin flip deck, I think that's weird. I think it's weird. But yeah. Gimmick Puppet is insane versus Memento going second, but people don't know about that. I don't know, it didn't seem that insane against me when I went first against it. It's good, but like, it's not that good. Like, you struggle versus Appaloosa. It's not that strong against Memento. Task's deck is completely different to Paulo's. Yeah, I noticed he had some tech choices in there. Like, he was playing Bystials. I think I got Bystialed by him. Yeah. I mean, other than that, I think there is not much else to really say. I think Memento had a pretty solid win rate, even though its win rate when going second was worse than the one of Ryziel and Malice, of course, and Mermail. Mermail is a better deck going second than Memento as well. in general, I think, but like it's yeah. Tearlaments did pretty poorly, which honestly I am surprised that Tearlaments was the 6th most played deck in this tournament. I have no idea. I honestly don't know why. I don't have an explanation for why you would play Tearlaments. Because that was a deck that we didn't even consider Tearlaments at all. So yeah. According to this, Mermail was the most consistent deck. Which stat tells you that? I don't think that means anything. The highest win rate overall was Malice, and like the highest adjusted win rate with coin adjusted. I don't know exactly how this works, but like I think it takes into account like if you win more coin tosses than you lose, then you're expected to have a higher win rate. So it kind of like accounts for that. So and like Malice has the highest win rate there too. If you exclude Blue Eyes with a total of like 3 games, which is not a sample size that's like statistically relevant. So yeah. Win rate overall? Win rate overall Mermail. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Slightly higher than Malice, which with only less than a third of the games though, is something you also have to take into consideration. And Mermail also had a way higher coin flip win rate, right? That's why like this stat here is more important, the one at the right who accounts for that. Because like Mermail, of course Mermail is going to have a higher win rate than Malice. If Malice has 47% win rate in the coin toss and Mermail has 58. Like Mermail is expected to win more games at this point, right? But Mermail did well, don't get me wrong. Mermail was a good deck at this World Championship. Win rate when coin toss lost. Yeah, I mean Mermail, that is true. Mermail did have a slightly higher win rate when going second than most other decks in the field. At least the ones that were played a decent amount, right? So you could argue Mermail was the best deck at going second at this WCS, right? So yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by most of the things here. I think this is mostly stuff that was to be expected. I think Mermail performed pretty well. I think Memento performed a little worse than I thought it was going to. Other than that, I'm surprised by some of these decks that people brought, because like I understand the Gimmick Puppets, because the idea behind Gimmick Puppet is you pair it with Ryzeal, because Ryzeal can get beaten by Tenpai, so you play an FTK deck to beat Tenpai. I get that. So the Gimmick Puppets is not super surprising. And then there's some other decks like, okay, Snake Eyes or Voiceless Voice or Crystron. From my understanding, these decks were mostly played as a counter to Malice, because that's just decks that people put like Lanceas and Chaos Hunters and whatever into. And the Sprite deck too, I think, for Yugioh, was also, I think, meant to be an anti-Malice deck. So that part makes sense to me, why those decks were played, right? What I don't understand is like, what was the exact reasoning to play Tearlament or Branded Lab? Though those decks, I wasn't really sure why they saw play. Or Ubel, Vanquish Soul, I don't know. But yeah. It's also something that I haven't seen every single one of these deck lists, and I haven't heard the players' reasoning, so maybe they had good reasons for it, right? Sharing Allure and Goldstruck sounds crazy to me. No one did that. The shared card breakdown, I don't think it's included here, but the shared card breakdown was 10 called by and 2 Fuva as the third one. Like every team had Maxi, every team had Ash Blossom, and then there was 2 Fuva, 10 called by. Yeah. Who was the second Fuva? It was Fala Galera and Team 7 who shared Fuva. I think in terms of consideration into shared cards that we made, we thought about in the beginning, we thought about Called By, Fuva, Imperm. I think those three crossed our minds at some point. The only other thing we ever considered sharing, I believe, was a Malice card. Because unironically, I don't know about the other teams. Maybe yugioh, you can say something about this too. But like, we had a point in the preparation phase where we felt like Malice was so good, we considered playing 2 Malice decks in shared card environment. Like friggin' one of them gets 2 March Hares, the other one gets 1. One of them gets 2 White Rabbit, the other one gets 1. And so on. One of them gets 2 field spells, the other one gets 1, and you play like 3 Dormouse in both. You share Dormouse. And then you play like, because Malice has like so many possible sub engines, right? Like it can play like Bestials, you can play Allure, you can play Signet Mining, you can play Terror Top to make Cherubini to send a Malice name from deck and then banish it with Lizardos. Like there's ways. You can play like, you can play like a Math Mech package or whatever. Like there was actually ways to build multiple Malice decks. And no one ended up doing this, but like I think it speaks volumes to how powerful that deck was. That like multiple teams, every team I've spoken to said they considered that at some point. Yeah. So honestly, it would have been, I would have kind of liked to see someone do that. Because it would have been pretty crazy to see. And also just to see how it would have done. But unfortunately, no one actually did that. But yeah. Would you have done it if Adignister was out? I think if Adignister was out, you would have. Yeah. I think if Adignister was already out, someone would have done that. Because then you can play, then they are definitely consistent and strong enough. Like you can play like 2 backup and in one of them and 1 backup in the other. Both of them get 1 wizard at Ignister. I think it was pretty likely that someone was going to do that. Yeah. Which I guess brings us to the future of Master Duel with the World Championship out of the way. Not my best tournament, I will admit. I was hoping for more, but it is what it is. I think it's okay. It happens. We have an upcoming selection pack. Konami have officially announced the newest selection pack added to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel next week. Regeneration of Stars. Keep in mind this is going to be, I think, the same date as the new ban list is going to be in effect for. Like I think they will. This is the day that we will get 3 Brilliant Fusion and 3 Block Dragon. So it only makes sense that we get the new Gem Knight support, Gem Knight Master Diamond Dispersion, most likely joined by the other new Gem Knight cards, which is going to be, in case you don't know, Gem Knights is currently a pretty viable deck in the TCG, or was a viable deck. Actually, 1 player qualified for the World Championship with it from the NAWCQ, with a blind second Gem Knight OTK deck, which I think in the TCG is considered a fine strategy at the moment. In Master Duel, this could be pretty good because it's best of 1, and we'll see about that. So, yeah, Gem Knight is getting its support in Master Duel. Then we get like some of the Magister support, which is interesting. We get Regenesis. We get Heraldic cards, which is interesting for Rise Heal players, and then we get Adignister. Which is a decision that has been made to release the Adignister support into a format where Malice is already the best deck by far, with an 80% win rate when going first at the World Championship, which is the highest level of Yu-Gi-Oh! that's being played. A deck with an 80% win rate going first and like a very, very good win rate overall already, getting more support is interesting. I luckily I personally have figured out a solution for this. I know exactly what I'm going to do when these cards come out in Master Duel. And that solution, it starts with a T and ends with CG. Is what I'm gonna do on the day that this card comes out, or these cards come out in Master Duel. I tweeted when they announced this a couple days ago. I tweeted, interesting approach to balancing Malice in Master Duel. They're simply overwhelming Malice players with too many broken cards and options to put in their decks. Like, this is unironically what it is. Like, people might struggle to fit these cards in a Malice deck because Malice already has so many good cards. But it's all gonna be fine as soon as they are going to put Allure of Darkness to 2, guys. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's gonna be Allure of Darkness to 2, and then like Chessy Cat to 1, because those are super rares, and then it's fine. Yeah. What about Malice in the Mirror to 1? I think that's a little much. I think Malice in the Mirror to 1 would be a little much. Max C back to 3. Yeah, let's put Max C back to 3 to balance out Malice. That's going to be good. Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, on a serious note, though, I'm interested on how they're planning to turn this around, because I can tell you that much: when this pack comes out, people will not be happy about the power level of Malice. People are already. I mean, some people like Malice as a deck, but like no one can argue that Malice is way too busted in Master Duel. Like, even if you're a Malice fan, fair enough. You cannot tell me that Malice is balanced in Master Duel right now. At that point, you're just like not. You don't understand what's going on, right? Like, it's okay to be a fan of Malice, but it's not okay to say like Malice is fine, the way it is in Master Duel right now, you know. And I think that's how most people feel. And I don't think this is going to change anything about it. I think this is going to make it worse. I think this is going to make Malice insane, because now all of a sudden you beat Lancia now. Like, if you have a backup Agnister in your hand, the Lancia doesn't even beat you anymore. So I wonder what they're gonna do the month after, because the September ban list is not gonna do anything, and this is what you're playing for the Duelist Cup. And I say you're gonna be playing that because I'm not gonna be playing the Duelist Cup. It's on the weekend of YCS Lille, and I'm happy it is. I'm happy it is, because if it wasn't, I would probably be inclined to play it, and I would probably, you know, I would probably crash out insta. So if you're tryharding the Duelist Cup, have fun. They might fix it in October, maybe, but like the September Duelist Cup, y'all, you're looking at a deck that already won 80% of the time when it goes first before these cards released for the Duelist Cup. This deck's gonna have like an 85 or 90% win rate when it goes first. Like, you're just gonna you flip tails, they summon a Malice card, you leave. To save time, probably. Well, yeah. People already do that. Yeah, people already do that. people already do that. Man. Will Malice, Ignister, and Master Duel become tier 0? I mean, I think there's going to be people who are not playing it just because they don't want to, or because they don't enjoy getting Lancead still. But like, from a competitive perspective, there's not really a reason not to play Malice at the moment. It is the best deck by far. I don't know if tier 0, it depends on your definition of what tier 0 is, but yeah. But yeah. Anyways, that's what's going on in Master Duel right now. That's how Master Duel Worlds went for us. And honestly, partially the reason why I'm also frustrated with this game right now probably has something to do with how Worlds went for us. I'm not trying to sugarcoat that. It was a frustrating experience for me, even though I should be. You would think I should be used to like losing at tournaments these days, you know. Like but that's not the part that's like upsetting me, to be honest. Like I have not done well at Worlds before. I have been unlucky in Yu-Gi-Oh before, but like the way that Malice has been rolled out and handled in Master Duel is not something I'm happy about. Now that we got Battles of Legends, will you try the Necros cards? I mean, in general, I said it earlier, I am going to be focusing on TCG next season. I'm doing the Worlds grind. I'm exploring more ways to create TCG content because I want to do that. And that honestly is not really something. It has something to do with the way I feel about Master Duel right now, but it also has a lot to do with how hyped I am for the TCG at the moment. Like it's just something I want to do. It's just something I feel excited to play more. Because the way it's been going in previous seasons is like I've been playing TCG, of course, but it was always both, right? It was always like play Master Duel a lot on stream because I would always prepare for Duelist Cups, I would prepare for Worlds, I would prepare for regional qualifiers and so on and so forth, which left less room for the TCG and less room for TCG content as well. Which is something I want to change. I'm gonna be working on that in the next couple of weeks. There's gonna be some changes to the stream schedule, to the everything. I'm not gonna stop streaming Master Duel entirely. No, I am still going to be in touch with the game. I'm gonna wait for it to get better. I'm gonna follow what's going on. I might even play a Duelist Cup if I have time. The next one I don't have time, and I'm not mad about it. But like the one after that, you know, Duelist Cup streams are fun. I like Duelist Cup streams, believe it or not. Even though I crash out at Master Duel every once in a while. Like I enjoy the Duelist Cup streams. They're hype. The like try-harding these tournaments and then you guys like watching along and so on. It's an exciting weekend. I like it. So like I'm not gonna be completely gone from Master Duel. I still love Challenger Cups. I'm still gonna keep doing Challenger Cups because I think it's such an amazing project by Konami to give like tournaments to the community and everything. Like we'll still have a Challenger Cup every once in a while. Like that's still gonna happen. And when a new pack comes out in Master Duel, we'll probably check it out. You know, we'll probably do like a Master Duel stream every once in a while. Yeah. So, and once again, once the cards that I'm enjoying so much in the TCG right now, you know, Justice Hunters format and everything, if that comes out in Master Duel, I'll probably enjoy that format too, even if it has Maxi in it. Like, yeah, it's gonna make it worse. But like, you know, I'll check out those decks once they come out in Master Duel. Like this entire World Championship, I was thinking two things. I was thinking like, yo, TCG format is sick right now. Like whatever I saw from the stream, like it was nice. But then at the same time, I also thought like, hey, this format would have been really cool for Master Duel Worlds. Like imagine a Master Duel Worlds format where instead of like Malice being the best deck by far and everyone else just playing like underdog decks, you know. It would have been like one player has Yummy, one player has Draco Tail, and one player has Vanquish Soul Canine, and they just go at it. You know, like that would have been an awesome Worlds format. I think, like that would have been nice, even if it was Maxi legal and everything. Like that would have been awesome, right? So like that was something that I was thinking as well over the course of this weekend. That's next year. Honestly, I think it won't be because realistically, I think those decks will come out like soon. I mean, soon-ish, like maybe in like 3, 4, 5 months or whatever. But like at the time of Worlds, like there's no way they release in 1 year. I don't think. I think it's gonna be like 5, 6 months or something until we get some of those decks, and then they will probably be hit by the time of August. I think it's how it's gonna go. I think that's more likely. Because what happened with Master Duel for Worlds, at least from my perspective, was basically worst case scenario, which is that Malice came out just before Worlds. Malice came out just before Worlds, and basically it was too soon to do anything about it. So it was literally full power because for some reason they decided to not even pre-hit it. Like they pre-hit X Ryziel, but they don't pre-hit Malice in any shape or form, which is... I'm gonna crash out if we talk more about that. Let's not. Let's talk about TCG. Let's talk about TCG Worlds. I was able to follow it a little bit along the sides because in case you didn't, I mean, you probably know if you watched from home, but the TCG World Championship and the Master Duel World Championship did not happen on the same day anymore, except for the top 4 and the finals of Master Duel. So the way it worked was this year on Friday, we played the first day of Master Duel and the first day of Duel Links and like the Speed Duel and Rush Duel was on the Friday, while the TCG players were all free on the Friday. They all had a day to relax. And then on Saturday, it was the top 4 and finals of Master Duel, as well as the first day for TCG. So as someone who didn't qualify for top 4 of Master Duel, I was actually basically free on Saturday and Sunday. So I had time to, you know, I slept in, and then I followed basically the first couple of rounds from TCG, I followed from the hotel. I watched on my phone the feature matches, and then eventually I was like, you know what, let me get up, let me get to the venue and you know, chill with my friends. I also did something that was cool, which was that they actually had a public event venue right next to the World Championship venue. So basically you could either go into the main venue and spectate Worlds if you had a spectator ticket, or everybody could go into the other venue and play public events and wins and get some prizes and everything. So what I did after we got destroyed in Master Duel Worlds on Friday, I built a TCG deck and I played some TCG public events on Saturday as well a little bit. I won a 8-man public event with Vanquish Soul, which was pretty fun. I played against Draco Tail. I played against Yummy. It was pretty fun. But that's what I did. What the other people did was they played day 1 of the World Championship on the Saturday. Is the stream live still? Oh, okay. The chat is frozen, right? I got hella confused. You see the chat on the screen is frozen? It stopped moving. I thought I disconnected. How do I fix that? Hold up. Let me try and fix that. Because I'm so used to like on the side that there's like something moving that it kind of threw me off. Okay, let me see if I can fix that real quick. Yeah, I refreshed it. Ah, okay, there it is. Okay, cool. All right, nice. All right. All right, working again. All right, so these are the results of the TCG World Championship 2025, and I think the most notable thing that we can talk about right off the bat is the fact that we had a total of 7 different decks in the tournament, which is already, I feel like, a lot with 27 players only. I think it goes, it speaks a lot about the current TCG format where people, I feel like people are still not really decided on what the exact best deck in the game is at the moment. Of course, the Worlds format is slightly different than the TCG. From a TCG perspective, basically what's missing is there is no Paradise Smasher, which changes some things. There is no Fenrir, which matters for some decks, you know, especially Draco Tail has been splashing Fenrir a decent amount. And there is no Mitsurugi. The only other notable difference, I think, is that, like, Malice lost one Dormouse, I believe. I think Malice was only... Dormouse is limited in the OCG. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. So that was the format, and there was 7 different decks in the entire tournament. 6 of which actually made the top 8, which I think is very interesting. The only deck that was played but did not make top 8 was White Forest by Dino. However, Dino still got 9th at the end. Dino did not make top cut based on tiebreakers, because he was very, very close. So it was actually pretty close to being every deck that was played actually made top cut. Very close to it. But White Forest did not make it. The decks that did top were 2 K9 Vanquish Soul, which was also the most played deck at the event. I believe 8 or 9 people played it out of 27, so it was roughly a third of the field was K9 Vanquish Soul. There was 2 Yummies in top 8, which was the next most represented deck. I think it was like 7 Yummies out of 27, and 2 of them made top 8. Then we have a total of 1 K9 Crystron, 1 Malice, 1 Sky Striker, and 1 Lunalight in top 8. Showcasing some of the more rogue-ish decks at the moment. I mean, the thing is, like, I find it hard to classify something like K9 Crystron as rogue because the deck is pretty strong and everyone knows it's pretty strong. So, like, it's been popping up, you know, in like TCG regionals as well. Like, it's a deck that people have on their radar. It's not like a rogue deck. And I think the same goes for Malice. Malice is still, it's not a Justice Hunter's archetype. So I think a lot of people are playing like the newer decks rather than Malice, but everyone knows it's still a good deck, right? It is still a good deck, and I think it was the 3rd most represented deck in the tournament. Like, there was 5 Malice, and Yuna ended up making top 8 with Malice. As first in Swiss as well. I think she went 6-1 and got first in Swiss. She defeated Ruben in the first round as well on the feature match, so that was impressive. And it was a somewhat board breaker Malice approach too. I believe it played like Sky Striker cards and Dark Ruler and stuff like that. So that was interesting to see. In general, this is one takeaway from this tournament for sure, is like there was a lot of different approaches with like how to build these decks. You know, like there was decks like Tom's Lunalight, which I uploaded a deck profile from Tom's Lunalight on my YouTube channel. If you want to see it, please go !YouTube and support Tom and the deck profile. He played no hand traps. There was only Fuva and board breakers. So essentially nothing to stop the opponent from setting up a board. But like still ended up 2nd place with Luna, which was impressive. Then there's like other decks that played more hand traps, like Yummy. And then like Yuna with like a mix between hand traps and board breakers in Malice. K9 Vanquish Soul has like some in-engine hand traps, but didn't play many other hand traps on top of that too. So like the TCG right now feels like you can just play whatever you prefer. You're not forced into 20 hand traps. You're not forced into just board breakers. Like all of these approaches can work, which I think is cool to see. I like that because ultimately that's what leaves you with the most choice. You know, like it seems like in the current TCG, it's actually possible to win games going second with a lot of engine. It is possible to play hand traps if that's what you feel more comfortable with, but it's also possible to play breakers if that's what you prefer. And I think that's cool. I think that's very cool. Ultimately, of course, the deck that ended up winning was Julian on K9 Vanquish Soul. So let's take a look at some of these card choices. It is, for the most part, actually a list that seems familiar because we've watched a deck profile, I think last week before I left, for Worlds that was using 3Ks for K9, and that was Milano. Milano, as much of a meme as that deck profile was, because he was like kind of like just trying to be funny, the list actually had something, you know, going for it, that convinced Julian to also play 3Ks for K9, because apparently this deck just wants to play more engine, right? And Julian ended up winning with 3Ks for K9, which I think is interesting. I think that's it's interesting to go from like a deck profile from Milano, which I'm not saying Milano is a good player, you know, but like the deck profile was definitely more, it was meant to be more of like an entertaining thing, but there was like actually something to it, which I think is very interesting. It plays the double Nash Knight technology too. So and I really liked the double Nash. I played 2 Nash Knights in my public event as well. And I thought it was pretty good. I thought double Nash Knight was pretty strong. So I like that a lot. The one thing that I am not sure about with Vanquish Soul K9 is if you should play Saryuja in it, because I feel like I think the other top 8 player from the OCG, Shane, played Saryuja. Yeah, I had the pleasure of talking to Shane. He was very, very nice. And he made top 8 with Vanquish Soul as well, and he played a Saryuja. I think Saryuja is like is pretty decent because it's one of the only ways how K9 can actually potentially bridge into Vanquish Soul. Otherwise, the engine is only like insulation from hand traps. Like Vanquish Soul can bridge into K9, but not vice versa, because there's no way for the K9 cards to actually search a Vanquish Soul card, right? And so I think like sometimes if you just like spam some level 5 bodies instead of making like an endboard piece, you could make like the Saryuja. It's not as simple because without the new K9 from Doom of Dimension, it's a little bit harder to make Saryuja with the K9 cards, but you still can, you know, like if you open Jockle plus like Izuna or whatever, all it takes I think is like a normal summon, right, to make Saryuja, because you can go Jockle into Ripper, and then you search Lantern, and then Lantern that's already 3 bodies, and then like you can normal summon something and make Saryuja. If you get hand trapped, it's easier because then you can summon Izuna and Lupus from hand, and Lupus from grave. But yeah. And then there's Tom's Lunalight. If you want any explanation on the Lunalight deck list, I uploaded a pretty in-depth deck profile on the channel. It's like over 20 minutes. He goes into it like in a lot of detail. I met Julian for the first time this weekend, really, and I thought he was a nice guy, so I was happy for him that he won. But Tom's been a friend of mine for a longer time, so I was mostly rooting for Tom in the finals, especially after Tom's lost 2 big finals already. He's lost German Nationals finals once, and he lost the final of YCS London. I was really hoping that this was going to be the one where he's able to overcome that and win. And then, especially because of the way how he lost this time as well, because I feel like his hand was really strong in the third game, and he told me after he was going to win that game if there was no Droll and Lockbird, and the Droll and Lockbird was drawn off of the heavy Borger. Like it was like basically everything was done, the entire combo was done, and then there was one Borger draw, and that draw was the Droll and Lockbird, and the Droll and Lockbird just sealed the deal. Other than that, Tom was confident he was going to win the game. It is what it is. You got to be lucky sometimes to win, but I was rooting for Tom to finally get a win. It would have what a win it would have been too, right? What a way to come back from 2 final losses by just winning the World's finals, but then it was not meant to be this time around. I think it's unfortunate, but the deck was a great call. I think like the Lunalight strategy. I asked them in the deck profile, was anyone able to out Liger Dancer when you summoned it? And he said no. Every time Liger Dancer was summoned, the game was over. Which is surprising to me a little bit, at least, because I feel like I mean, this is the thing. Like in hindsight, it's easy to say like, oh, if I had played Worlds, I would have definitely prepared for Lunalight. I would have put a card in my side deck for it. Like But like, you gotta realize that, you know, some people didn't play Outs to Lunalight because they just didn't think someone was gonna play it. But yeah, I also asked Tom if he thinks this deck is good in the TCG right now in the deck profile, and he said like it is a good deck. However, the one key difference between the TCG and the Worlds format is the fact that Paradise Smasher is legal, and Paradise Smasher is a problem for this deck, because essentially what you're trying to do when you go second is you just try to break the board and then summon the Liger Dancer and then win. And then, because if you summon the Liger Dancer, in most cases it doesn't matter how much like follow-up your opponent has. However, with Paradise Smasher in the mix, you can't really do that, right? Like if you don't hand trap your opponent, or you just Fuva your opponent and they go for a like Paradise Smasher, right? So it's harder to play. Like, it's definitely harder to beat, or like to play an all board breaker deck when Paradise Smasher is legal, which I think leads me to like eventually I mean, they did announce a ban list, or like, well, technically they didn't announce a ban list, right? They just said like there won't be a ban list until after Worlds is what they said. So will there be one soon? I don't know. For the most part, I don't even think we need one in TCG right now, because TCG seems pretty awesome right now. From my first couple of tournaments in it. At the same time, there is some cards that I would really like to get rid of, like Paradise Smasher, right? Or Protoss. You know, that'd be kind of good. So yeah, we'll see. And then we had Roselle, top 4 with Sky Strikers. Guys, I was really trying to get a deck profile from Roselle, but I think she had already promised it to her like sponsor. But like, I think Sky Striker World's deck profile on my channel would have gone crazy. I would have liked that a lot, but was not able to get it. I think this deck was a pretty good call in hindsight, and I think it might even be a playable deck in the TCG right now. And here's the thing: I'll drop some hidden lore after the podcast, after the Heart of the Cast episode that we did with Roselle. I told her, like, if you want some input on your Worlds list, I'm happy to provide some input or ideas or whatever. And then she asked me, like, what do you think of Sky Striker? And I was like, I like it, you know, I like it. So it was not my idea to play Sky Striker for her, but like, she asked me about it. She was like, what do you think of Sky Striker? I said, yeah. The thing is, I told her to go first with it, which thank God she didn't listen, because she did pretty well. And whoever, like, who knows what would have happened if she like took my advice and built a version for going first. Because basically, I felt like, I personally think this deck shouldn't beat Vanquish Soul going second. It should beat other decks. But I personally think Vanquish Soul should beat Sky Striker. If you are like practiced in the matchup. And I think that's a big thing. Like, people really underestimated Sky Striker going into this. I don't think a single player at Worlds expected to see Sky Striker, which I think is weird, because I think this deck is actually quite strong in an environment where people don't really play Droll and Lockbird. Now, granted, a lot of people still side deck Droll and Lockbird, like Tom did, Julian did. You know, there was still a lot of Droll and Lockbird in the format. Here's Isaiah's, who also played Droll and Lockbird. Shane didn't play Droll and Lockbird. So like, you know, but still, I think in an environment where there's no Droll and Lockbird, this deck is very strong. And I've been telling people this. I've been saying, like, in my tier lists and stuff like that, like, of course, it's not the best deck in the game right now, but if you want to play this deck now, you can. Like, this deck flew under the radar like crazy, because it was released in basically the worst possible format for it. Like, this deck was released in a format where everyone was maining 3 Drolls. So of course the deck was not going to be good. But like, if Droll is not that popular, this deck is actually strong. It's a good deck. So I was happy to see that choice, you know, the willingness to try something new and to bring Sky Striker to Worlds. I was happy to see that paid off. That was cool. Yeah. We have K9 Christian here. This is a relatively standard approach, I think. You just play like the K9 cards. The Christian package is very small with one Scrap Recycler. You play hand traps, which honestly, the hand traps could also be board breakers in this one. I think it could also be like droplet and stuff. We chose to play hand traps. We play chaotic elements to search the Jockle. So this it's a pretty it's a cookie cutter list for K9 Christian, but at the same time, it is very effective. Pretty strong deck, I think. And you see that other players also respected this deck because there was Mega Fleet in the Sky Striker deck. There was Mega Fleet in Julian's side deck. So like people did expect K9 Christian, and it was still able to top. Right? Then there's Shane's Vanquish Soul deck actually did have an out to Liger Dancer in Kurikara. But didn't play Hita to search it, which I think is a little weird. Like, I've seen people play Dogoran or Kurikara in Vanquish Soul and then play like a Hita with the idea of like, okay, well, I can make Hita, I can crash, and then I can just tribute the Liger Dancer. Vanquish Soul can also just out Liger naturally. It can, but what I will say to this is like, it's pretty difficult if they fully set up, because the way you beat Liger, I think, is like you either there's two ways to beat Liger. One way is you try to actually out it with rocks, right? Where you go, what is it? You make like your Caesar bigger to be able to attack over it because you can make it gain 1,000. Or you just burn them to death with Borger, right? The problem with both of those things is they kind of need you to have the field spell up on the field. If you don't have the field spell, they can just use Liger to pop your stuff, which makes it harder. And if the Luna Light player knows that, they will just always out your field spell. They either negate it with the Silver Hound in the graveyard, or they just banish it with SP, and then it becomes way harder to actually out the Liger. Yeah. So I think the biggest problem for that matchup is actually the Liger. Not the Liger, the Silver Hound negating the field spell. Because then it becomes tough. In my experience. There any other interesting stuff? So Johannes played almost the same deck as Tom. That was Lunalight 2. We have a relatively standard hand trap yummy version here. What other decks did people play? This is not a yummy deck. This is not a yummy deck. This is definitely Malice. This is yummy as well. Okay. K9 Vanquish Soul with Ghost Reaper in the main deck. Okay, what are we trying to banish? We're trying to banish Snatchy. So, okay, tell me about Ghost Reaper against Yummy. How good is that? How good is Ghost Reaper against Yummy? Because they can get it back from banished with the traps, with the field spells, right? Yeah. Oh, this player was prepared for Lunalight, by the way. This player had a Lunalight target in the extra deck for Ghost Reaper. So that's the thing, right? Sometimes the world's format is also sometimes you make a prediction and you just need to like. It doesn't have to be 100% correct. Like it doesn't have to be no one that's prepared for Liger Dancer for you to do well, right? It's enough if like 5 or 6 people aren't prepared and then you top. This guy thought Ghost Reaper was Maxi, respect. Okay. I mean, Ghost Reaper. So I'm confused to not see like the Ghost Reaper paired with like more Nibiru's, because I would think like Ghost Reaper plus Nib is a pretty good pairing against Vanquish Soul K9, because you just go like, okay, well, I Reaper your Ripper, and then I Nib you at the end. That seems good, right? I think seeing really good players going for meta calls in such a closed environment is almost as interesting as the tournament itself. I think it's more interesting. I think it's more interesting I think the deck building process for a tournament like this is more interesting than the actual tournament. Of course, the actual tournament is interesting, but like still, it's a small sample size of games, right? So like a player who like maybe it's not a guarantee, for example, that Julian's deck is the best deck or list in the entire tournament. You know, there's always a chance that someone else found something better, but just wasn't lucky or ran into some unfortunate matchups or maybe misplayed, even though the deck was good. I'm not saying Julian's deck was bad. It's a good deck and he played it well, but like it's like, you know, 7 rounds of Swiss top 8. There's always a chance that someone else found something crazy and it just didn't work out. What deck would you have played? I can't answer that question because I would have played the format way more than what I actually did. You know, I haven't played much TCG in recent weeks because I was focused on Master Duel. So I can't answer that. I cannot answer that. Julian's not a long-time player. Julian started playing early 2024. Yeah. The past 3 world champs being 4-3 in Swiss into winning is wild. That is wild. It is wild. And once again, I don't want to take anything away from the accomplishment, but at the same time, Julian, for example, did not even have the best win rate at Worlds. Julian went 4-3 in Swiss, came in 8th, then won 3 matches, which puts him at an overall record of 7-3. 7-3 is a 70% win rate at Worlds, which is crazy. It is crazy. But for example, Tom went 6-1 in Swiss, then won twice in top 8 and top 4 and lost the finals, which puts him at an 8-2 record, which is 80%. Tom had an 80% win rate and Julian has a 70% win rate. And even Yuna, I believe, Yuna went 6-1 in Swiss, lost in top 8, which is a 6-2 record overall, which is 75% win rate, right? So there is some, it's always, you got to be lucky in the right moments. It's like getting 8th in Swiss and then winning out is something that's fortunate. You know, you sometimes got to be fortunate to win tournaments, and it's part of it. And that's the thing with like Swiss rounds and then cutting to top cut. After you get to top cut, nothing matters. It doesn't matter if you go into top cut 4-3 or 6-1. You reset after top 8, and that's fine. That's normal. That's how it works. But like a lot of other players also had some pretty good achievements at this World Championships is what I'm trying to say. What else is there? The Reapers were interesting. Okay, that's it. All right. Yeah, I mean, I thought Worlds was pretty cool this year. I had a good time outside of the tournament, of course. Like the tournament didn't go the way I planned, but I thought watching the show on Saturday and Sunday was pretty cool. Following TCG was pretty awesome. Lots of people in TCG that I rooted for did pretty well, so I was following their journeys, and it was exciting. I was also very happy. Shoutouts to Philip Thomas for winning Duel Links Worlds. That was super hype. Friend of mine from way back in the day. So that was really, really cool to see him win Duel Links, Speed Duel rather. So overall, I had a good time. As I always do at tournaments, I try to, if it doesn't go so well, I try to put focus on other things. So after we were out of the tournament on Friday, I just focused on, you know, following the action of the TCG Worlds, following the action of Master Duel Top Cut, hanging out with friends, you know, and that was awesome. You know, that was awesome, and it got me super motivated for next season as well. Of course, I'm gonna be focusing on TCG because that's awesome right now. I have 2 regionals already planned for this weekend. I'm traveling to 2 regionals because I'm trying to do the points for Worlds, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Oh yeah. Did chat freeze again? No, okay. You're gonna be at the Dutch Open? No, I bought a ticket for Dutch Open, but then I realized, or someone messaged me and said there's a regional that is bigger and closer. So I'm going to, I think it's called Napburg. I've never been there, but like apparently it's supposed to be a regional that's closer to me and bigger. So yeah. But yeah. You plan on going to Bologna? I am going to YCS Bologna, yes. I'm going to YCS Lille. Dude, YCS Lille is kind of soon, too. Like, YCS Lille is 3.5 weeks from now. And I think we get Doom of Dimension before YCS Lille, right? Like, Doom of Dimension is legal for YCS Lille, which is very interesting. So, yeah, we're gonna be spending a lot of time with the TCG in the next couple of weeks. Oh, yeah. Maybe Yummy is the best deck. Yummy could be the best deck for Lil. I mean, Yummy is a good deck already. I'll have to see. It's like I'm gonna be. That's the good thing, right? I don't feel super stressed about YCS Lil because I know I'm gonna be playing a lot of TCG for the next couple of weekends. So I already know that I'm gonna have like a lot of practice, like more practice than usual for YCS Lil. So I'm looking forward to it. But yeah. Anyways, y'all, I know it's been a shorter stream, but I'm still a little tired from the weekend. And it's also my birthday, so I'm gonna go see my parents later, spend time with some friends and family. So I hope you enjoyed the little bit of a Worlds recap, a little bit of a birthday stream. We're gonna be back full time soon. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the stream. I hope you all had a good time watching the World Championships. And thank you for tuning in to my little birthday stream. I appreciate you guys for hanging out. I will see you guys soon, and keep an eye out for. I'm gonna record a YouTube video tomorrow about like a lot of the things we talked about today, but like in a more precise fashion, and like the future of the future of the channel, the future of the stream schedule, the future of the YouTube content, and so on and so forth. Keep an eye out for that. You know, you can go !YouTube if you're not subscribed yet. Yeah. Without further ado, thank you all for hanging out. I'm gonna see if there's someone already live to raid. Let me see if there's anyone. Let me see. Anyone playing Master Duel or TCG? I'll send you guys to someone playing the Arcana Force deck that I think they might be playing Ryan's Arcana Force deck. All right. You guys, thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon, and take care. Bye-bye. Peace.